If you remember using the raft, driving the jeep, and taking on an ancient god being with a bazooka, then you grew up playing Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine. But which one? Because there were 3 different versions released, and in this video we're going to compare each of them. But first, let's set the scene. Since its very debut, the Indiana Jones franchise had spawned a steady stream of video games in the 80s and 90s. Up until that point, indie games were largely split into 2 genres: side-scrollers like The Greatest Adventures, and point-and-click games like The Fate of Atlantis. But by the mid-90s, video games were going 3D, and LucasArts' other big franchise, Star Wars, had success in that realm with the Dark Forces series. And so LucasArts decided to adapt the Sith engine used for Dark Forces 2 to develop a 3D Indiana Jones game. Designer Hal Barwood, who'd worked on a few of the point-and-click Indiana Jones games, wanted the plot to be focused around UFOs. However, Lucas vetoed the idea as he was reserving it for a 4th movie. Instead, Barwood decided to focus on ancient technology and ancient gods. Now, just like Dark Forces, this initial version of Infernal Machine would be developed for the PC from the ground up. So let's start by taking a look at that version.
Time to go to work.
Straight away, I like how the launcher for the game only plays a snippet of the melody. Did they not pay John Williams enough money for the rest? The Infernal Machine is set in 1947, quite a while after the original trilogy, and the intro makes it very clear that this game is set after the war and we're dealing with Soviets instead. Okay, so what are the controls? We've got the gun, the jump, the crawl, interesting angle, and of course the cha-cha slide. Alright, time to start Indy's next great adventure. I like how carefully he walks backwards. Oh, better take it easy, there's no dynamic camera in this game. Right, how do I move this block? Come on. Damn it, move! I'm not sure what's going on, I'm not even touching the controls, he's just doing this on his own. Poor middle-aged Indy.
Thing looks whippable.
Indy, please, this is a kid's game. Oh, look, a snake. Nice to see Dr. Jones finally got over his phobia. After getting you acquainted with the game's controls, the tutorial level ends with Dr. Jones meeting his CIA lady friend, who informs him that the Soviets are after a mythological Babylonian power source. They're also headed by this giant baby-looking fella who acts as the game's main villain. It turns out the Soviets are actually looking for the Babylonian god Marduk, who lives on another dimensional plane called the Ethereum, and the only way to access this plane is to activate the ancient engine which Indy dubs the Infernal Machine. So naturally, the game's plot has Dr. Jones globe-trotting in a race against the bad guys to find the parts needed to activate this Infernal Machine. Okay, with the setup out of the way, let's talk about the main gameplay cycle, which consists of climbing, swimming, solving puzzles, and of course stealing priceless artifacts. Indy, where did you pull that from? The Infernal Machine is very much a Tomb Raider clone, from the exploration and puzzles all the way down to the tank controls, which kind of makes sense as Lara Croft was influenced by Indiana Jones to begin with.
Sorry about the crates.
Nothing to see here, just a university professor parachuting into the Kazakh mountains. Wow, Indy is one hard man. One single jab and the bad guys are down. Stoy! This level also has a bunch of these water rafting sections with super loose controls. Alright, better put the raft away. Oh god, I tripped!
A beeswax candle.
Indy's arsenal of weapons and items does grow as he navigates the levels. Indy's journey to find the machine parts starts in the monastery in the Kazakh mountains, then moves on to an active volcano in the Philippines, followed by an Olmec Valley in Mexico, and then finally a tomb in the deserts of Sudan. And I like the way the game mixes all of these historic locations with crazy supernatural stuff. I wonder what's at the end of this slide. Oh, of course, it's a giant ice monster. Oh no, a lava creature. Okay, slowly walk away from him and mind your step now. Also, at one point, Dr. Jones gets into a gunfight with a giant mythical snake which will slowly choke him to death.
Ah, paradise on Earth.
It sure is, apart from the sharks, the piranhas, and of course the mines.
Kinda warm in here. The volcano can't still be active, can it?
Well, now we know for sure. I do love this game's level design. Look, we've got water in one room and lava in the next. The Soviets are also always wearing these USSR t-shirts just in case you forget where they're from. It's like the Olympics.
Капиталистический глупец!
This looks interesting.
Ah yes, the ancient statue of me first thing in the morning. There is this famous Jeep level, and well, the vehicle controls just about as well as Indy does. After finding all of the machine parts, Dr. Jones gets captured by the Soviet baby and is imprisoned on his ship. And you know it's a Soviet ship because of the Lenin portrait in the prison cell. Things really do get wild in the final section of the game. Indy ventures deep into the ancient pyramids where he takes on some ancient drones. This is followed by a minecart section, just like in Temple of Doom. It's all very fun, just remember to duck. Indy's tough, but he can only take so many pipes to the head. Oh my god, a giant robot! And he's absolutely impervious to being shot in the gonads. Eventually, Indy discovers and activates the Infernal Machine, which transports him to the alternate dimension ruled by the god being Marduk. The final level has Indy navigate the Ethereum to try and save his lady friend. Eventually, he does confront Marduk. Oh wow, look, an ancient transdimensional god being. Indy, do you think we should ask him about the meaning of life or the secrets of the universe?
Nah, just shoot him, kid.
And so, a middle-aged university professor defeats the god being, gets the girl, and returns back to Earth where he intends to get drunk with the big baby.
Listen, Gennady, you don't happen to have any socialist vodka on hand? I'm thirsty.
Now, like any classic LucasArts game, this version of the Infernal Machine does contain some bonus content. This includes the Peru level from the opening of Raiders, and a portal in the Ethereum which leads to the Monkey Island section with the developers' faces on the wall. And so that's it for the PC version. However, while they were developing this version in-house, LucasArts asked Factor 5, who worked on the Rogue Squadron games, to develop a Nintendo 64 port. And straight away you can tell this is a Factor 5 game because it recycles the menus right out of Rogue Squadron. Now, at first glance, the PC version seems superior. It has higher quality textures and higher fidelity audio, but everything else is actually better on the Nintendo 64. The menus are way more intuitive and smoother to navigate. There's a better level selection menu, the shadows and lighting is more realistic, and the environmental effects have been touched up. For example, we now have extra snow in the mountains and vegetation in the canyon lands at the beginning. Look, there's now even a plane on the map loading screen. But the biggest improvement to the Nintendo 64 version are the controls. Thankfully, the tank controls have been replaced with standard analog movements similar to Ocarina of Time. And speaking of which, Factor 5 also borrowed Ocarina's C-button mapping mechanic. Plus, you now also have a lock-on function for the weapons. Unfortunately, this version of the game did go under the radar because it was released over a year after the PC version and was an exclusive to Blockbuster stores. Oh, and also it was never released outside the US. But that's not all, because a few months after the Nintendo 64 version, THQ released a Game Boy Color port of the Infernal Machine. This one is set in a top-down perspective and is pretty faithful to the original version given the hardware constraints. Look, both games start with Indy sliding down into the canyon lands. Indy still has his arsenal of weapons and items, and he still falls to his death just as easily. Look, they even show his lifeless body on the game over screen just to let the kids playing know, yeah, he's really dead. There's more whip swinging, block pushing, treasure collecting, and puzzle solving. And just like its big brother, some of the puzzles are pretty tedious. You do get the occasional firefight with the bad guys, but you can only move in 4 directions and you can't see the bullets. So all you can do is just point and hope that you're hitting the guy. Also, you have to restart the level right from the very beginning every time you die. As I said, it does hit many of the major beats from the PC version, like the water rafting in Kazakhstan, getting bit by sharks in the Philippines, and taking on the drone in the tombs. Levels like the Jeep and the Soviet ship have been removed, but this version's ending still takes place in the Ethereum with Indy taking on Marduk. Plus, there's even a bonus level in Peru. And so there you have it, every version of Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine. The PC version is very much a game of its time. It's not exactly fast-paced. Most of the game consists of you pulling levers, solving puzzles, climbing and pushing big blocks, with the occasional firefight thrown in. If you're a fan of the classic Tomb Raider games, this is the Indy game for you, but I hope you're also a fan of the clunky platforming because this game is filled with it. The Nintendo 64 version is a lot more fun and forgiving to play, but it does come with a visual downgrade, plus you can't really find it, unlike the PC version which has been made available on Steam a few years back. But despite its shortcomings, the Infernal Machine would go on to become a fan favorite and lay the foundation for 2 more 3D Indiana Jones games, which I will cover in separate videos very soon. In the meantime, please let me know your thoughts and memories of Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching. Please consider supporting me on Patreon, and a big thanks to my existing patrons. If you've enjoyed this video, then please remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.